For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
And am desolate, a captive, and removing to and fro. And who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These were, where had they been?
Hey, bro, you ever heard about the Israelites? Come hear about Chuck tell us about how his dad, his police father, used to take him through Nigger Town. Come here, watch this. Watch this real quick, man. Watch this real quick. The craziest thing in the world, man. I'm sitting here talking to Charles here, right? His father's name's Frank. Used to be a police officer. It was here in San Diego. Hell yeah, he's big. So you know what it'll do to you. It means you better be on your best behavior, right? Chuck told me his father used to be a police officer rolling around and used to roll him through Nigger Town. You can only imagine what Nigger Town was, right? Is that true, Chuck? He was a police officer. So when we asked Chuck, how does he feel about this type of treatment and the things that our ancestors and what we currently go through today, how he feels about it, he says, I feel terrible. But then when I ask him the question, I say, well, what do you feel like should happen to it? How do we move forward and make things right? He's got nothing. This man is 68. Hold on, watch this. This man is 68. This man is 68 years old. He has nothing to contribute to the furtherance and for the restoration for what was done to Black, Hispanic, Native Indians, right?
I think you will vote. I do.
He's saying as a whole. He's saying as a whole.
Yeah, why not? Of course.
Now watch this though. Right? Most certainly. But watch this though. Even with the way, one of the things that I always tell our people, right? We want to build up the place that was built for our enslavement. Are you familiar with the Reconstruction era? I'm glad you said that. You're in Isaiah 14 still? Let me show you something. Absolutely. Get that brother a hand. You believe in God? Yeah. You believe in the Bible? What parts don't you believe in? Would you feel like gaining our identity back is one of the things that's important and what's best for us? Now I hear you because I've heard this before. Humbly, I would disagree. Respectfully, I would disagree because there's something. Yeah, what's up?
What's your name, Charles? So, Charles, just follow me. You know your father, right? Do you know his father? Are you able to track his father?
I understand what you're saying. You're pretty much saying that others have the ability to track their fathers back, but we're in their lineage, but we're not able to, right? I'm glad you said that. I got you, but I'm glad you said that because there's something called prophecy, right? So when we get into the concept of being able to track our lineage without having the written record of it, this is where we rely. Well, I ain't gonna say rely. We understand first, right? We observe, we understand, and then we can rely on something called prophecy when we see it come to pass, right? This is how we establish the validation or the legitimacy of it, right? Let me share something with you. Couple things. Deuteronomy 28. Have you ever heard about this before? This Israelite stuff? Certain parts, right? So it's a reason why we say things like so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians are the Israelites that you read about in the Bible, because guess what? It was prophesied that the Israelites would not have their records, would not have their lineage, would not have an ability to track themselves back. But God gave us a way. Let me show you. Deuteronomy 28, 1:15, and we go to the point. Huh? Come on, Charles. You knew what you guys did to us. All right? Hold your point. Read it. Bring it out.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, from the top.
Uh-huh.
And it shall come to pass,
Read.
if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
If we listen and obey God, go ahead.
to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day,
Read.
that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel. He says, if you obey me, I'll put you above all people on the planet Earth. The way in which we obey God is to have genuine and honest love for one another. And guess what? The things that we want to achieve and the plight and the pit that we want to climb out of as black people, the reason why we can't is because we don't trust one another. We have zero unity. We got one brother going this way, one brother going that way, another brother going that way. And with our differences, exactly, right? There's no unity. So when we get into what the law, statutes, and commandments that we were supposed to diligently obey, it's what is actually going to bring us together. The very things that we can see us violating in today's times, right? So one of the blessings, we're going to be put on high above all people, right? Right now, you can see we're at the bottom. We getting stepped on, right?
Yeah.
So from 1 to 14 is all of the blessings. Read verse 15.
Verse 15, but it shall come to pass,
Jeremiah 17.
if thou wilt not hearken
If you will not listen,
unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
read.
to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes,
Go ahead.
which I command thee this day,
Read on.
that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So if we didn't obey God, curses will come upon us, right? So from 15 all the way down to the end of the chapter, verse 68, it's all of the different ways in which we were going to fall under these curses. Hold on, Chuck. You got to give me 2 seconds. You got to be patient. I'm having a conversation with my brother right here. I'm Taz. What's your name, bro? Jordan? Okay. So if we did not listen, all of the different ways that we would fall into, we would lose our land, we would lose our cattle, right? We would lose our crops wouldn't grow. The fruit of our land, the fruit of our body would be affected, right? Jump to verse 46.
Verse 46, and they shall be upon thee.
They are the curses, right? Matter of fact, start at 45.
Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee.
They're going to come upon us and they're going to pursue us. It's so crazy when they use the word pursue, because of course when danger and peril, when we see it, we going to run from it. But it says, nope, these curses are going to follow you wherever hell is you going. But it was for a purpose though, right? Remember why we got on this. We don't know our lineage. We can't go and trace ourselves back like Chuck can, right? Go ahead.
And overtake thee.
They're going to pursue us and they're going to overtake us. Go ahead.
Till thou be destroyed.
Until we're destroyed. It's going to bring us low. That's why we're getting stepped on. Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
You weren't obedient. Read.
To keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee.
And they shall be upon us. Go ahead.
For a sign.
For a what?
For a sign.
For a sign. Go ahead.
And a wonder.
And a wonder. Read.
And upon thy seed.
And upon our seed. Go ahead.
Forever.
Forever. Why was this going to be why were these curses, or how would these curses serve as a sign to these people? I'm going to show you something. Jeremiah 17:4. 17:4.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4.
Bring it out.
And thou even thyself.
Thou even thyself, right? The children of Israel, read.
Shall discontinue from thine heritage.
So what we had, our heritage, our land, language, customs, we lost it. So now when we see these curses, it says it's going to be a sign and a wonder, because when it's brought to our attention, it's like, yo, how in the hell this entire time we didn't have this book on grandma's damn counter and coffee table and had no idea that this was our record speaking about us. But it serves as a sign because we was going to discontinue from who we were. Read.
From thine heritage that I gave thee.
Go ahead.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies.
And when we lost it, we were going to be caused or forced to serve our enemies. Read.
In the land which thou knowest not.
We had no idea what the hell America was. No idea. Read.
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger.
Because we kindled a fire in the anger of God. Go ahead.
Which shall burn forever.
Which shall burn forever. Now again, when you use that word forever, it just means perpetually until something is going to drastically change that. This is where we get into the concept of who the world calls Christ. This is when we get into the concept of who the world calls Christ, the opportunity that he presented and laid down, but it also goes into the fulfillment of prophecy as well. Let me show you one more curse that really hits home and pinpoints who we are today. Bring it out.
Verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Go ahead, hold on. So when you understand the concept of the Bible, when the Lord brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, that was one way that he was going to save it, that he was saving the children of Israel and bestowing his love upon them. So to the Israelites, Egypt was this place that represented captivity and bondage. He made a promise to the children of Israel, I'm not going to send you back into the literal land. So it's almost like he's telling them, like, listen, you see what you guys were going through in Egypt? I'm going to bring that back upon you. But you were going to go into captivity in a land that you knew not. See what I'm saying? So it's going to be the same conditions, new land. But I'm going to take you into captivity again with what?
With ships.
So we were going to go into captivity, go into slavery with ships. Do you know any other people in the entire history of the planet Earth that went into slavery on ships? You don't know what a ship is?
Oh, shit.
Ships, not chips. Come on. It was always interlocked lands, right? But guess what? The so-called Hispanic and Native Indians went into slavery on ships, not from Africa here, but from here over to Africa, to Europe, and other parts of the world, by the same people that brought me and your ancestors over here. So this is where we start to recognize. We say, damn, this is where these curses become a wonder. This didn't happen to nobody else. We was going to discontinue from who we were. We was going to be taken into slavery on ships, not be able to recognize this stuff. But when we understood the curses, it was going to be a sign. It was going to be a signal for us. A signal for what? You are the people of this book. And you now understand that we're the people of this book. We got a responsibility to serve God. How do we serve God? We have to do right by one another. Like legitimately. And there's a guideline too. We ain't got to make it up in our head as to how we do it. It's a literal guideline. There's privileges. There's a level of harmony and rhythm that we establish by just simply following the laws that God gave us, right? Bring your precept.
Book of St. Matthew, chapter 5, verse 13. Ye are the salt of the earth.
It says you are the salt of the earth. Go ahead.
But if the salt hath lost its savor.
But if the salt loses the savor, go ahead.
Wherewith shall it be salted?
Where else is it going to be salted? And wherewith shall it? The it is the earth. I'm going to share something, and I ain't even shared this with these brothers. Salt is a purger. It can be used as a form to cleanse and to purge. We, so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, we're going to be the ones responsible to clean up the earth. We're going to be the ones responsible. You want to know why? Because even in the midst of our oppression, we can still sit here and have a cordial conversation with Chuck. I'm not mad at Chuck either. I just want Chuck to understand that there is justice that's going to be established in the earth, and that's just a fact of the matter. I don't have to be angry to realize that.
You gotta understand that their lives ain't no more. That's right.
No, I'm going to tell you this. Their lives definitely isn't more important than ours, but I will affirm that our lives are definitely more important than theirs.
That's right.
Like I said, we the salt of the earth. If we do not value our lives and get back into the position that we should be in, which is what? As we read in Deuteronomy 28:1, above all nations on the planet earth. If we don't get back there, the earth is going to continue to fall apart and ultimately self-destruct, right? Proverbs 29:2. We have to understand just how this earth works. And if we don't ever push to get there, like you said, it's going to fall apart. Because us as black people, we definitely want to do better in life. But collectively, we don't have the mindset and the drive or the direction to go be better than them. We want to be cool and equal. I want to be respected. I want to be better. I want to be the best. I don't want to be the MVP of the NBA. I want to own it. See what I'm saying? But all we want to do is we want to be the best at how you play. No, I want to be the best at running this entire planet Earth. All praise to the Most High God. You got that? Proverbs 29 too.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority.
When the righteous people are in authority, Deuteronomy 6 and 24. Quick, go ahead.
The people rejoice.
The world will rejoice. Go ahead.
But when the wicked beareth rule.
But when wicked people are in rulership, what happened?
The people mourn.
That's why the earth is falling apart, because the wicked people are in rulership. So it takes people like me, Taz, and you, Jordan, to understand who we are, fulfill our responsibility to God, to get back to that top position so the whole entire world, the whole entire earth can rejoice.
Yeah, the world is falling apart.
Because of you guys, Chuck.
Yeah.
Bring it out.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 24.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes.
He commanded the children of Israel to do all his statutes. Go ahead.
To fear the Lord our God.
To fear God, read.
For our good always.
For our good always. When we keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, we'll always receive good. That's where we find our success. That's where we find our prosperity. Because we can't do anything in a sin anywhere without doing it together. What's your question? You can be specific. What people that you see on the news? I don't want to guess. The Israelis, right? Because they claim to be the people of the land. Exactly. They don't have a land, right? Not to mention, we just had a conversation. You got the flyer. Maybe like 2 or 3 videos ago, you'll see it. It'll say a Jewish man, like a Jewish man denies God or something. They don't even believe in the prophecies of their own book. Bring it out.
Book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 9.
They're not Jews. Go ahead.
I know thy works.
I know thy works. This is Christ talking to his people. Christ was a Jew. He's talking to a Jew. I know your works and what?
And tribulation.
And are Jews in tribulation? The Jews that is claiming to be Jews today, are they in tribulation? No. They're the one. They just got. They want to claim that they are, but they're the ones that have all of the influence. I don't want to use any of these buzz trigger words, right? They the ones have all of the influence that can get no, because we gotta make sure that this is in proper order so that our people can get it, right? So people ain't trying to flag it and take it down. And again, like you said, without anger, we don't have to. Let's talk facts. Let's talk facts. I got you. They have all of the influence to get deals taken away from people, to get suspension, people's job and bank accounts affected. Our beloved brother Ye is now currently back under fire by these people because he's got a rap song talking about how he's having sex with his Jewish wife. Chris Brown laughs at it and is dancing to it, and then now Chris Brown is under heat for it. But people like Little Dicky and what's the other dude and Mac Miller get to call our women out of their name and talk about them, and they don't say anything. So what type of tribulation are they really under? Like you said, though they like to think that they are, or they like to proclaim that they are, the literal tribulation is what they're doing to our people. Exactly, right? So Christ is letting his people, he says, don't worry. I recognize, I understand, I see your works. I see what you're going through. I see your tribulation. Read.
And poverty.
And poverty. So this right here is giving you a few descriptions, giving us a few adjectives to describe the things that the Jews would suffer. They're not suffering from any of those things. They're definitely not in tribulation, and they're definitely not impoverished. On the contrary. So who could this be, right? Read.
But thou art rich.
But thou art rich. In the Bible, it says that there is nothing more richer than wisdom. The Bible also tells us that the law, statutes, and commandments that God gave us that we should have been following to be on high above all people so that the earth can rejoice, that's our wisdom. That's our understanding in the sight of God or in the sight of the whole world. That's our wisdom. So it says nothing is more richer than wisdom. That's why it says, I know your tribulation and poverty, but you're rich because you still have the mind of God. Go ahead.
And I know the blasphemy.
And we do know the blasphemy. The blasphemy is the filthy, stinking lie. I know the blasphemy of what?
of them which say they are Jews.
Of them which say they are Jews, well, what?
And are not.
And are what?
And are not.
And are not. So the very question that you asked has already been addressed over 2,000 years ago. Because they were even doing it back then. They just hadn't accomplished it. So when we read earlier that the curses are going to be upon us until we were destroyed, they weren't able to superimpose this identity until they were fully stripped it from us. When we knew who we were, they couldn't take our identity. They could just try to slide in and try to be a part of. Now they completely stripped our identity away. We fall away from who we were, serve our enemies in a land that we knew not. Now they can come take it away from us. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are what?
But are the synagogue
But are the
of Satan.
synagogue of Satan. The synagogue is what we call the chief house. So when you look at all the satanic, demonic, evil, destructive things going on in the earth, you can only guess who's behind damn near all of it.
Right.
And as soon as you start looking into all of these atrocities, just looking, see who it is. You said, give me an example. Can I give you an example? The eugenics project, right? Which was, it was Margaret Sanger, and but it was influenced by one of her cousins, right? It was a guy, I forget his name. This is how we get into the position that we're in now, where the most dangerous place for a black person in America is in a black woman's womb. So one of the most dangerous things that happens to us is as a result of their people orchestrating a system that makes us believe it's better for us to kill our children than to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Listen, jabs, watch this, jail, all this stuff, right? Give me Isaiah 42. Because when we read about this type of stuff, not only just in history and in the world today, like I said, we go into this book and we were like, damn. And I heard you say earlier, you said, I ain't got no problem with religion. We ain't up here teaching religion. This ain't Islam, this ain't Christianity, this ain't Baptist, this ain't apostolic, this ain't none of that different type of stuff. All those things is a byproduct of the Catholic Church. And then under the Catholic Church, you have something called the Protestants, which every denomination of Christianity goes back to the Protestants, outside of Catholicism. All influenced by Jewish people. See what I'm saying? So when we understand this type of stuff, we say, we don't follow that. Christianity gave us that guy. Go ahead, Chuck, step on that guy again, man. On his face, man.
Well, who is that?
No, that's your Jesus.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Caesar Borgia, Michelangelo's lover. Or was it Leonardo's lover? One of them. They were all having treways and quadraways and stuff, right?
That's right.
Get his brother a hand. Jesus looked more like this man with a white afro and a white beard, right? We have a rendition on the end over there, right? Get that.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Behold, I have taught you statutes
Read.
and judgments,
Go ahead.
even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it.
So the land that you said we want to get back, that's what we're supposed to be doing in our land. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Like I said, it establishes justice, it establishes equity, it establishes fairness across the board, it establishes order, right? And most importantly, it establishes love. Just genuine love. Go ahead.
Verse 6, keep therefore and do them.
Keep therefore and do them for what?
For this is your wisdom.
This is your wisdom. Go ahead.
And your understanding.
And the understanding that we have in what?
In the sight of the nation.
That we're going to have in the sight of all of the nations. Which shall what?
Which shall hear all these statutes.
And they're going to hear about our ways and what we do. Go ahead.
And say.
And what were they going to say?
Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
They were supposed to hear what we was doing and say, yo, what they doing, they dope over there, what they doing. And then what happens, we become the influence over them to follow our ways. We the lead. We become the salt of the earth. Now we're cleansing and purging all of their error. You see how it keeps talking about nation this and nation that? Christianity and religion don't teach that. Because that was set into place to try to just say, all of this nation, it doesn't even matter. You don't know who you are, but it doesn't matter. Because we're all one in Christ now. And it's like, no, that's BS.
Christianity thing, from what I've read, that's how they use it. folks to slavery and be okay with being slaves.
But be mindful, because a lot of times people will take that understanding and then they'll attach it to the Bible. No, they used Christianity to do those things to us. And then they cherry picked things in the Bible to be able to give us that understanding. But they called it the slave Bible. The slave Bible, they said, out of 1,200 chapters of the complete version of the Bible, the slave Bible had 150. People like Nat Turner, right? You know about Nat Turner? So people like Nat Turner used to perpetuate that, right? But what they did was, when they messed up, they gave Nat the whole Bible. So although they coached him as to what verses to read to the slaves, they still gave him the whole Bible, taught him how to read, and he's on his own time going through it. Did you ever watch Birth of a Nation? So a brother by the name of Nate Parker, he, like I said, he was in that movie Glory. It was that old basketball movie, and he was in The Great Debaters. He did his own movie, fully funded by himself. And what's so crazy is story of Nat Turner, and he had to fund it himself. And in an interview on the Breakfast Club, he said, man, I asked everybody. He says, when I tell you I asked everybody some money. He said, black people were telling him, there's no good white people in here. In the story of Nat Turner, there is no good white people. So how we go? But our people don't even want to get behind something like that. Exactly. They don't even want to get behind anything like that. And that's where the problem comes in for our people. Like I said, there's no togetherness. There's no unity. When we ascend to a certain level, we then become docile, and then we become protective of the level that we got at. So then we have to succumb to all of their rules and regulations. Yep. Get his brother a hand. He said, you got to dim your light. And guess what? The Bible tells us, do not take your candle and put it under a bushel, or put it under, and take a light and put it under the bed. No, we have to take our light to its highest point so it can shine as far as it can go. And what is our light? The laws of God, which is our law, statutes, and commandments, which is our wisdom that everybody else is supposed to be influenced by. Keep reading.
Verse 7, for what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them?
What other nation is so great as this, that has God so nigh? The word nigh means near. What nation is there that's so great that is near to God? So near, read.
As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for.
As God is so near and so close to us. Who else is like that? No one. So we got to recognize our privilege. We got to recognize the things and the ways in which we benefit, but we didn't take advantage of it. Why? Because we wanted to go after the flashy things. It's almost like right now, if all black people gathered ourselves together and we left and had a place to go, it'd be beautiful. But how many niggas do you think would sit back and say, damn, man, I sure would love to go to Chick-fil-A right now. I sure miss the Magic City wings.
What I learned is, because they don't want to go that way, don't mean it
shouldn't be pursued, right? But
somebody got to be the first.
not only does somebody got to be the first, we have to start understanding and taking the idea into heart. Everybody ain't gonna get it. It ain't gonna take for us. So the Bible tells us this is where you get the term 666 from. People don't know this. It says 2/3 of the children of Israel, they're gonna be killed because they love their oppression way too much. With oppression comes liberty. Liberty is not always a good thing, because with liberty comes anarchy and chaos. And this is how these people rule us. They give us all of these options for us to do, and they say, go ahead, you pick and choose. No, we just conveniently always pick the wrong thing that destroys us. We have a free enterprise out here, but we pick to sell dope and pimp and gangbang and rob. That's the things that we choose to do, but it's a free enterprise. You're able to do whatever it is you want. You got all of this freedom to do what you want, and you want to go and say, oh, love is love. You want to go and kill your baby. No, excuse me. You want to kill your fetus, which is Latin for baby. This is how they deal with us, because we are absent of our own wisdom that's supposed to be the influence. We're allowing them to influence us. Go ahead. We follow Isaiah 42 and 20. I had it already, right? Go ahead.
This book of Isaiah
42 and 20.
chapter 42 verse 20. Seeing many things.
We have seen many things. The stuff that me and you are talking about, we're aware of it. It's not like we're absent of it, like we don't know, we ain't never seen it. we've seen many things, but what?
But thou observest not.
But it's almost like, have we really seen it? Because the way we behave, the way we respond to what we've seen, it's not like we've seen it. In the laws, where I'm telling you, it brings us closer and it allows us to love one another. One of our laws is that we can't stand by and watch while our brother's life is in danger. And we always bring up the situation with George Floyd. Instead of he was sitting there, that's all they did. So it's like, how many, but here's the thing. They think in their mind, oh, I've seen this before. I'm gonna get my camera out and I'm gonna record it this time. Seeing many things, but it's almost like we don't observe. Negro, they're killing your brother. Put that phone down. I'd rather read an article that you saved this man than to watch a video of him be killed.
Nobody tried to tackle him.
Nothing.
Watch the execution, basically.
Which is a violation of our God's laws. And if we violate that, you see how now it's like, I ain't looking out for you, you ain't looking out for me.
Well, he ain't doing that to me.
Hey, it's you. Same thing when we get some money. Like you said, those who have that knowledge, they keep it to themselves. It's like, hey, I ain't broke. You broke. Hey, sucks. It is what it is. But you see, when we violate these things, it separates us. It only hurts us, right? So we see in many things, but it says, but you don't observe now. It's almost like you listening, but you ain't hearing me. You hear me, but you ain't listening.
Same thing with my kids. I tell them,
watch out. Hard head make a soft ass, right? And this is what the Bible says. Why should you be stricken anymore, Israel? Why do you keep doing the same things that I've been punishing you for? You have the records, you have the knowledge, you have the sight to see what I'm doing to you. Why do you keep going further and further into this destruction? So it takes brothers, like you said, it always takes one person to start it. And then it should create the domino effect. So we appreciate you coming up and stopping. And this is what we're trying to just build this movement to say, understanding our identity. White people will say your identity doesn't matter, but then they'll put an article out to say identity is one of the basic fundamental human needs. All of them.
all these holidays for their ladies.
Exactly.
And tell us ours.
Tell us ours don't matter. Matter of fact, we should just join in and follow what they did. Same thing with Thanksgiving. If we understood and knew where the concept of a Thanksgiving celebration, where it comes from, what I'm saying is, it came about long before this alleged feast that was had between the Pilgrims and Indians. This stuff dates back very far. And it was as a result of when they thanked God for them winning the victory over their enemies. And that's and the story that they tell us that Thanksgiving stems from, the memorial of it, what we celebrated every year, didn't happen until 80 years after that occurrence or after that feast happened. Which they violated that treaty and that feast within a year. Our people are totally blinded, and we keep running into that same wall, like you said, like kids. But the Bible says, listen, when a man wanders out of the way of understanding, he remains in the congregation of the dead. So in all actuality, we ain't even alive, man. This wisdom and this understanding is literally what gives us life, right? So we see many things, but we observe not. Go ahead.
Opening the ears, but
the Lord opens the ears. Go ahead.
But he heareth not.
But he does not hear. Read.
The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake.
He's pleased for those that are righteous, that's operating within righteousness. Go ahead.
He will magnify the law and make it honorable.
And that's where the prophecy comes in, because he says all of the stuff that you guys are ignoring, don't worry. I still have delight and pleasure in my law, and I'm going to magnify it. Right? So that's what happens eventually over time, but it's all contingent upon us realizing who we are and then going back to it. That's where it's going to be magnified. That's when we put on high. That's when we take back our place of rulership, and that's when the earth rejoices. Read.
But this is a people.
But we are a people that is what?
Robbed and spoiled.
Robbed and spoiled. Go ahead.
They are all of them snared in holes.
Snared in holes. Go ahead.
And they are hid in prison houses.
That's that trap you just talked about. That's all we are. Robbed, spoiled, snared, tricked and trapped in holes, and then hid in prison houses. Keep reading.
They are for a prey.
We are for a prey, because they hunt us down, like Chuck's daddy, right? Headed down in Nigger Town. Headed down in Nigger Town, going to trap some niggers today. Got one. How did these people end up in Niggertown? Traps. If you know better, Chuck, you got to take more advantage, man, of the life that you've had. Transatlantic slave trade. And listen, and like I said, and then shove this in communities, the product of resources and ability to sustain ourselves, and then we turn on one another. That's why your dad looks at it like it's Niggertown. Go ahead. We are all snared in holes. Listen, drop the drugs off, drop the guns off. They still dropping guns off there. You know what it does? All of those different things gave your father a job, Chuck. If your father did his job, it wouldn't be no crime, Chuck. So he has to create crime to still have an opportunity to clock in every damn day. To go and take that back to you. That's why you are what your father is, Chuck. You came from that man's seed, Chuck.
I'm not like them.
You was a little tadpole in your daddy's nuts when he was rolling around down.
I'm not like them.
You are like your father. Go ahead.
Why am I standing there then?
Listen, you standing here doesn't.
I wouldn't be here.
So you say your father wouldn't stand here because he wouldn't dare stand in the face of a bunch of niggas, huh?
No, I am. I mean,
We are hidden prison houses, right? Go ahead.
They are for a prey.
We are for a prey. Go ahead.
And none deliver it.
Nobody has delivered us from this, from being this prey. Go ahead.
For a spoil.
We are for a spoil. The spoil is the remnants after war, right, that you gather up. Go ahead.
And none saith restore.
Nobody wants to deliver us, and nobody assists with our restoration. So even when I asked a simple question to Chuck, like, what do you think happened? That's what I told him. I said, you could probably recognize and say it's messed up. I said, but your advocacy for justice is lazy. You don't have no interest in changing it.
I'll stand there with you. It was a professor. She was teaching the class. That's like
Jane Elliott.
she said, if you feel like black people are being
Treated equal. Who will want to trade places with us?
in other words, she said, I don't think you understood the question.
Yeah. And she asked him again, and nobody raised their hand. She says, if you do not want to change places with black people, that means that you can recognize how they are treated poorly, and if you stand by and do nothing about it, you're just as guilty, and you're a part of the problem. So you standing around here, yeah, Chuck, Chuck, cool. But guess what? That's why I'm exploiting you long before you can exploit me. That's why you're going to make me a lot of money, and I appreciate you. Look, he went and put on his USS Kitty Hawk. This is crazy. This is crazy, man. You're killing me, Chuck. You're killing me, man.
I've been doing this all.
Nobody wants to restore us. That's why we got to do it for ourselves. But through the spirit and power who the world calls Christ and his Father, the Most High God, Yahweh is his name. Give me Isaiah 14 from the top. Matter of fact, finish that in Deuteronomy, and then we're going to get Isaiah 14.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 7.
All right.
For what nation is there so great?
What other nation is so great? Remember it says, I know your tribulation and poverty, but you rich. Everything that we've been going through, go ahead. Yeah, everything that we've been going through, how can our people sit up here and act like we ain't still ascended above the plight, the turmoil, the degradation, the oppression that we've been facing? We still sit up here and figure out a way to ascend back to the top. We're never just going to take the place of rulership anymore. Why? Because the only way we're going to get back to that position is following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. We got to understand why we're in this position. We're not in this position because of white people. We're in this position because this is what the Most High did to pay us back for disobeying him. He just used white people to orchestrate or to fulfill his plan. Read.
Who has God so nigh unto them,
that
the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for.
Because God is in all things that we call upon him for. Read.
And what nation is there so great?
And what nation is so great? Go ahead.
That has statutes and judgments so righteous.
That has all of these statutes and judgments. So righteous. So fair. So just. Go ahead.
As all this law.
As all of this law. Go ahead.
Which I set before you this day.
Which I set before you this day. And when you go into that law doesn't serve everybody. Because that law says that I could buy Frank and Charles' pale white ass. And I could possess them forever and pass them down to my children. Right. That's what our law says. And God calls it, oh, so righteous. Praise the Most High. Read.
Verse 9. Only take heed to thyself.
Only take heed to yourselves. Only worry about yourself. So again, the question that I asked you, Chuck, and the answer you gave, Chuck, it was typical. I was expecting that from you.
Stand here with you.
With a bunch of niggers, right?
Yeah, with a bunch of steers and a Mexican. I don't care.
Give it up for Chuck, man. And a Mexican.
I thought I seen one.
Bring it out.
So
Only
with that-
take heed
with
to
that
thyself.
status-
Only take heed to itself. Go ahead.
And keep thy soul diligent.
And keep thy soul diligent. Read.
Lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen.
Unless you forget the stuff that you've seen. We clearly see what the hell Chuck is on. We can't act like we can forget this. And there's been plenty of things that are worse than Chuck. What Chuck's hat represents has done plenty of worse things, right? Jake, you came up to us last week, right? Hey man, blacks and Hispanic people are the greatest people on the planet, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. You know, he understands that. We better than everybody. And that's why Chuck hates us, man.
I don't hate you.
I know, Chuck.
You want me to hear you?
Hey, yeah, Chuck hates himself. Chuck gets off Crystal Man and beats it and abuses himself with mankind. Bring it out.
Lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life.
It's a beautiful thing that Chuck gets to remind us of the things that we've seen, because it seems like in our day-to-day lives, we just go on about things and we just forget what is around us in the place that we're in. Go ahead. I got you.
But teach them thy sons.
But we got to teach some things to our sons. Read.
And thy sons' sons.
And our sons. Go ahead.
Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb.
Especially the day that we stood before them in Horeb. Go ahead.
When the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words.
We gotta remind and teach our kids that we were the people that stood before the Lord when he spoke to Moses, when he gave the law, statutes, and commandments unto his people, the children of Israel. That's it on that. Give me Isaiah 14.
Book of Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 21.
No, verse 1.
Verse 1.
Go ahead.
For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob.
God will have mercy on Jacob. Read.
And will yet choose Israel.
And will yet choose Israel. That's who we are. You blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, you are the people of Israel.
That's right.
You are the Israelites that you read about in this Bible. Read.
And set them in their own land.
We're going to get our own land. Go ahead.
And the stranger.
And the stranger, Frank and Chuck and Charles, are going to do what?
Shall be joined with them.
See, you're not going to go to hell under the earth with the devil, with this guy in a pitchfork. You're going to join us in our own land. But how? Go ahead.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
It says they're going to cleave unto us, right? Read.
And the people shall take them.
These Frank and Charles, they're going to take them, read.
And bring them to their place.
And they're going to bring us into our place. They're going to take us and carry us back to our land. You know how they carried us over the water to this land? They're going to carry us over the waters back into our own land.
Right.
Read.
And the house of Israel.
And the house of Israel, you black, Hispanic, and Native Indians shall do what?
Shall possess them.
Shall what?
Shall possess them.
We're going to possess you, Charles. Go ahead.
In the land of the Lord.
In the land of God. For what?
For service.
For what?
For service.
You black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, the people that raped, robbed, and murdered, took you into slavery, pillaged, and took your land, forced their language and their last name on you, you're going to take possession of these people. Read.
And handmaids.
As you're going to take possession of them for servants and handmaids. Go ahead.
And they shall take them captives.
We're going to take these people captives. Who's what?
Whose captives they were.
Whose captives we were. This is what God is saying. Go ahead.
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
And the people that have been oppressing us, the people that call us niggers, we're going to rule over you, Charles. Listen, in the day that the Lord returns to bring judgment to this place. And guess what? People like Charles and Frank, your judgment and what you've done to blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians,
I ain't never done nothing.
your judgment is at the top of the list.
No.
And the Lord calls us to sing a new song. And it went something like this. Go ahead.
Verse 3, and it shall come to pass.
And it shall come to pass, read.
In the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow.
In that day we go back to the land of the Lord upon the shoulders of these damn heathens that had us in captivity, where we're going to possess them for servants and handmaids, and when we're going to rule over our oppressors, the Lord's going to give us rest. The Lord's going to give us rest. Read.
And from thy fears.
He's going to give us rest from our sorrows And our fears, go ahead.
And from the hard bondage.
And from the hard bondage that what?
Wherein thou wast made to serve.
Wherein Frank and Charles made our people serve. Frank was doing it on the street, and you were doing it in the prison that you work for. You goddamn devil.
Right.
Bring it out.
Verse 4, that thou shalt take up this proverb.
We're going to take up this proverb, read.
Against the king of Babylon.
Against the king of Babylon. And this Babylon that it's talking about here is talking about this modern Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. This godforsaken place, America. Read.
And say, how hath the oppressor ceased?
How has the oppressor ceased? Go ahead.
The golden city ceased.
How did this great place, America, cease? How did the great power and fury of the so-called white man cease? It would cease at the hand and the power of the Most High God, Abba Yahweh. And with that, we give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, of Mashiach Yahweh Shai.
Fill the cities with faces, iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation, not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach gives that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters, won't fill the cities with faces, iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation, not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach gives that order.